Hello everybody, my name is Jennifer Cuesta and I am an attorney with Colorado Legal Services. Tonight I'm going to be talking with you about what record sealing is and how it may be able to help you. So I'm going to start with the question of why are we having this conversation? And it's because a lot of Coloradans have criminal records. In fact, 1 in 3 Coloradans, or about 2 million, are said to have criminal records. And moreover, 1 in 5 Coloradans are said to have conviction records specifically. And these are the records that can really negatively impact people. So in terms of impact, the area where we see the most negative impact is probably employment. People either can't get employment or they're really limited to entry-level low-paying jobs that can't support them and their families, or they're doing really good but they can't get a promotion because of a criminal record. We also see a lot of impact in housing. Some records bar people from getting public housing, and also private landlords nowadays, 9 in 10 run a criminal background check on potential tenants. So that prevents a lot of people from being picked as a tenant for a rental. There's also limited access to social benefits programs based on records. I said earlier with public housing, but also with food stamps, SNAP here in Colorado, as well as TANF, and some publicly funded rehabilitation programs as well. I've had clients tell me about issues with getting financing for a mortgage for a home, and also student loans to further their education. And then the last area of impact I wanted to mention is just the stigma that comes with a criminal record. I've had a lot of clients tell me that they feel like bad parents because they can't volunteer at their kids' schools because they can't pass a background check. Or people say they don't feel like they can date because they think someone will pull their record and they'll have to explain it. And these impacts are not just impacting the people with the record. It's them, but it's also their families and their partners. Everyone in the family feels the impact of a criminal record. And they don't just feel it when it happens. They feel it years and even decades after they've met their sentence. These records continue to haunt them and impact the ability to get housing and work and money and just support themselves and be a part of the community. So it's a very real issue. So the impact is really the sad part of this. But now I want to get to some good news. So earlier I said 1 in 3 Coloradans have a record, or about 2 million people. It's also estimated that 1 in 4 million of those have at least one record they can seal, and 540,000 of that 2 million could likely seal all their records. Meanwhile, with the 1 in 5 or 1.3 Coloradans that have a conviction record, it's estimated that 873,000 are eligible to seal at least one of those conviction records, and 455,000 are likely eligible to seal all their conviction records. And then there's more good news. The second piece of good news is that Colorado law has changed 3 times in the past 4 years, and each time it's led to more records being eligible to seal, as well as an easier process to seal those records. So even if you were ineligible a couple years ago, please check again because you may be eligible now. So what are some of these big changes that have happened in the record sealing law? First, and one of the ones I love the most, is that now you can seal an eligible record even if you still have unpaid fees, fines, and costs. Before you couldn't do that, so that was a really great change. The second thing is we've seen increases in the types and levels of criminal convictions that are eligible to petition to seal. That includes most misdemeanors and many different felonies. Also, for non-conviction cases, which that's if a case was fully dismissed, you were found not guilty, or you completed a deferred judgment. For those non-conviction cases, it's easier and free to seal, but also it should be happening automatically. Additionally, now there is a clear process to seal multiple conviction cases. So even if you have more than one case where you got a conviction, now there's a way where you can try to seal all of those. And the last thing that's really good as well is that the court did initiate some automatic sealing. So this is sealing that will be done without you having to do anything. That will happen, like I said before, in most non-conviction cases. Those should be sealing automatically. It's also going to happen with arrest records where no case was filed after the statute of limitations has run. And it's even going to automatically start sealing some eligible conviction cases after certain waiting periods have passed without additional convictions. That could include some civil infraction convictions after 4 years, some petty offense and misdemeanor convictions after 7 years, and even some eligible felony convictions after 10 years. So these are huge changes that can have massive effects on tons of people in Colorado. So at this point, I hope that you are thinking that you may be eligible to seal your record. So now I want to tell you a little bit about how sealing a record can actually help you and what it actually does. So sealing a record essentially hides it from the public. What this means is once you've sealed a record, you can legally leave it off of applications for jobs, housing, public services, student loans, mortgages, all of that stuff. You do not have to list it on applications, and you do not have to discuss it in interviews. Also, once a record is sealed, you, the courts, and law enforcement agencies can then say, if anyone asks about it, that the record simply doesn't exist. Also, an employment application cannot be denied solely because an applicant refuses to disclose a sealed record. And lastly, and it's really good for housing, a landlord or a homeowner cannot refuse to rent, lease, or sell to someone because of a sealed record. So by having this record sealed and not being a factor in your applications, hopefully it'll remove some of these negative impacts that people have that have these criminal records. So now that you know what sealing a record does do, I also want to be really clear about what it doesn't do. So first, sealing a record does not erase it. The convictions still happen, it's just that less people get to know about it. Also, sealing a record does not hide it from the courts, law enforcement, prosecutors, victims, as well as government agencies required to perform a background check. Now, they still have to use it in legitimate ways, but it is still available to them. And then the last thing, and this question comes up a lot with my clients, is sealing a record does not reinstate lost rights. Only a pardon by the governor can do that. And I get this most with the right to carry. If you seal a conviction that resulted in you losing the right to carry, it won't reinstate that right. Also, if you lost the right to vote because of a conviction, sealing that won't reinstate the right. But good news on the right to vote, before you are even eligible to try to petition to seal it, the vote will be automatically reinstated under other Colorado law. So if you're interested now on seeing if your record is eligible to seal, I recommend you start with 2 steps. So the first step is to get your record. I recommend you first go to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation website. On there, you can pull your record for $5 instantly, and it'll give you a good idea of what your overall Colorado records are. Then you can also get individual case records from the court where you got the record. I do recommend if you go in person to do that, that you bring your ID, but you can also order some online. And then lastly, you may have to get certain arrest records by calling or visiting the police or sheriff's office, and also sometimes you can get those records online as well. But getting your records is the first step to figuring out your eligibility. The second step is accessing some legal help. So first is Colorado Legal Services, the organization I work for. We provide free legal services to low-income and community senior members with civil legal issues, including record sealing. To apply for services from our Colorado Springs office, you can call them at 719-471-0380 or apply online at www.coloradolegalservices.org. If you don't have an attorney, I recommend you take a look at the Colorado Court's self-help webpage on record sealing. This webpage has developed all the fillable forms that you would need to petition to seal different types of cases, so you just fill in the blanks. It also provides instructions on how to do it, and the instructions kind of summarize the law and may be able to help you determine some of your eligibility. And then the last resource I want to mention is the Justice Center, also in Colorado Springs. They provide some free clinics and also help connect applicants with free or reduced cost attorneys, including with record sealing issues. You can learn more about them at www.justicecentercos.org. Okay, that's it for tonight. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope your records are eligible to seal.